This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Out of Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
Welcome to Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. This is your lunch break stop for sports, for wrestling. We have a loaded show in for you today. I'm joined by Mike Mele from the Mouth Off with Mike Wrestling podcast. I'm joined by Wayne Thomas in his Drew McIntyre graveyard shirt. And I'm also joined by producer Desmond Johnson. We have a huge show in store for you guys today, so we're going to go ahead and dive and keep going. You guys can comment on the YouTube channel as you guys watch this. Your comment can pop up as you're watching. So Hunter can't wait for this show. And Booking Like a Mark, here we go. They do really good stuff, by the way. So I want to start with fan focus. Mike Mele, you're a Yankees guy, and I was surprised as I was preparing for the show. The Yankees have now started the season 5-0 for the first time since 1992. That's a long time. That's a while. That's been a while. How far could the Yankees go in 2024 after the highest start in over 30 years?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's April 4th. So I will be a little reserved here. I'm not gonna, sit here and fly off the cuff and say they're going all the way, World Series, here we go, number 28. But I'm really liking this Yankee team, man. This is a completely different team than we've seen on paper. It's the most even lineup we've had. We obviously are always battling the injuries, it seems. We lost DJ LeMahieu the morning of opening day. We've got a couple other injuries out there. Hopefully we can get Garrett Cole back into this mix in a week, I hope, or two. And really, I think this team has a chance to go pretty deep. It all depends, and like most things with sports, it all depends on the injuries, and especially with the Yankees, because the injury bug seems to hit them at just the worst time. But I have high hopes.
Dude, he has high hopes. It's only, we'll see what happens with the Yankees moving forward. My Rangers off to a pretty good start, even though Josh Young might have fractured his wrist last night, so he'll be out for a while. But they came out of that Cubs series, 2-1. I'm feeling pretty good. And Dez, with your fan focus question, we've seen the Panthers move off of guys. We've seen them move off Christian McCaffrey. We've seen them move off of DJ Moore, Brian Burns, the list goes on and on. And I'm looking at the Charlotte Hornets, and you're a Hornets guy. There's a Hornets jersey behind you. Lamelo Ball has been pretty much injury-ridden 3 of the last 4 years. I know he just signed a bigger contract here in the last year. Do you think it's in the conversation that the Hornets could look to move Lamelo Ball if he doesn't get through these seasons playing healthy?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. I mean, they just extended him to a $260 million 5-year extension last year. He got drafted. What year was it? 2020 when he got drafted. So this was year 3. I just think it's too early. Like, think about if the Warriors had traded Steph Curry early in his career when he was having all the ankle injuries he was having. You can't just be super trigger happy and want to just get rid of players and swap them in. Like, it's this instant gratification society that we have now, where it's like, if we're not getting the results now, we want to move it on and get something else. And sometimes patience pans out. Same with Mark Williams. Now, I'm a little bit more concerned about Mark Williams because he's got a back injury. He hasn't played since December, and back injuries typically, once you hurt your back, it's really no way going back to 100% health. So I don't know about Williams. He might be a trade, but LaMelo, I think they look at LaMelo and Brandon Miller as their core going forward with Miles Bridges, and it was supposed to be Mark Williams. But I think Bell and Miller in particular are the backcourt of the future for the Hornets. Both players 6'9" or taller, and can be interchangeable almost. So I don't think they're going to try. I don't even think they're even thinking about trading LaMelo Ball. I think that's just kind of a fan thing that's out there that, we should trade LaMelo. He's hurt all the time. Yeah, Steph was too. And look, he got better shoes. That's pretty much what we need. We need better shoes instead of trading off one of our core all-stars. No.
What kind of shoes is LaMelo wearing? on
He's
the
not
court?
wearing Big Baller Brand anymore. So
Oh
that was
boy.
years ago. I think he's got to deal with I think it's Puma. I think it is Puma. I think he has a deal with Puma. So I think he's with them. I don't know. Let me look that up.
Yeah, and hey, fans want instant gratification. They're like, "Oh, let's move on from this player. They're the reason we're losing," or "Oh, let's move on from this coach because they're the reason they're losing." My Duke fans, even after yesterday's show, please just stay calm, stay the course with John Shire. Okay,
Yeah,
he's done really well, and
yeah, that's
let's
way too early.
yeah,
For
way too early.
kind of talk. I went through this with Hubert and Heels fans really every year. If Hubert stumbles someplace, we're like, oh, well, Hubert's on the hot seat. No, he's not. No, neither is Shire. Lamelo signed a deal with Puma. Lamelo signed a deal with Puma in 2020 for $100 million. So it's Puma is his shoe. But I'm looking at all the shoes; they're all low cut.
Puma for ball.
All of them. They're all low.
for
All
basketball.
of his different varieties. They're all low cut shoes. So maybe that's why he keeps rolling his ankles every 3 weeks.
Wow, man, maybe. He's not quick like a Puma.
We need some ankle
He's
support.
probably ricocheting off the floor. Brett Wiseman's grabbing some popcorn. Wayne says sorry for technical difficulties. Yeah, Wayne was supposed to be on today's Out of Pocket. He will be back on eventually. Just technical issues. Will always come up. They've come up on my end, so no hard feelings. Wayne's an awesome guy. Wayne's got an awesome T-shirt as well. So hopefully we can get him on Drop the Mic probably tomorrow afternoon, or get him on Out of Pocket sometime this week, and we'll cover some wrestling. And speaking of wrestling, I love Top Rope Tuesday. I usually bring in some wrestling guys. Mike also has a wrestling podcast, Mouthing Off with Mike. Nice alliteration. I'm not saying you stole it from me, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I could have sued you, man. It would have been
Totally.
it would have been so easy.
Just yes, because Mike and Mike is that's the similarity, right?
And
Suing
we
me for
can't
my
use
name
Mike
now.
and Mike. We can't use Mike and Mike.
We can't use that one. That's for sure.
But this is a Top Rope Tuesday segment, and I put this together because after we went off the air yesterday, Des was like, "Have you watched this Roman Reigns documentary?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "You got to go watch it." So I spent the next 30 minutes with my dad trying to find it, figure it out. We finally, found the documentary and sat down and watched it. And the documentary, not to spoil it, but it starts out with legends of the past, like Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, John Cena, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They're all acknowledging Roman Reigns. The acknowledge me thing, they're all acknowledging Roman Reigns as he's doing something that nobody else has done in the history of the sport. And then you go in later, and thanks for catching the LU reference, Hunter. But you go in later, and Roman's like, if I don't beat Cody, I'm leaving. And then you look back at his career and what he's done. He's held the title almost as long as Hulk Hogan. I don't think he'll ever reach Bruno or Bob Backlund because that's like 2,000 plus days. He might, who knows? He might. We'll talk about it Friday. But Roman Reigns is about to do something incredible. He's about to main event his 9th night of WrestleMania, the most of all time. And those are 2 4-year spans of consecutive main events at WrestleMania. He is one of the most dominant superstars and one of the most dominant reigns that we have ever seen in our lifetime. So everybody brings up the Mount Rushmore and everything, but if Saturday and Sunday go as Cody fans want to, and Roman loses a title, or if it goes the opposite way and Roman holds this title, guys, I personally think Roman Reigns needs to at least be in the conversation of the Mount Rushmore when it comes to people putting like Undertaker, Hogan, Flair, Austin, Rock, Michaels. Like Roman Reigns needs to be in that conversation. Mike, as it stands right now, would you put Roman Reigns on your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's really tough because, when you look at the career of Roman, he really did have a great career. And ultimately, there was that era where there was a lot of pushback, on Roman. And I saw that they highlighted that in the documentary. Haven't had a chance to to sit down and watch it, with everything going on with all the wrestling and the WrestleMania week. It's a crazy week. I would say, yeah, you have to really put Roman in the Mount Rushmore, conversation, because he's held the title for the longest of the modern day era. We haven't seen it since Hogan. You said it, Bruno, Pedro, Bob Backlund, and he's making captivating TV, and he's super known and recognizable across media. Social media. We saw just the other week, all the sports teams were acknowledging him randomly on TikTok and Instagram, and doing the whole ones up thing, and he's at the level, yes, where I think you could put him on a Mount Rushmore conversation. Is he on my Mount Rushmore right now? Too early to tell, but you can definitely have that conversation and say, yeah, he's a guy you could put on the Mount Rushmore of this generation of WWE and professional wrestling. Absolutely.
I was thinking about this after I watched that documentary. I'd put him on my WWE Mount Rushmore. I don't know if I put him on my pro wrestling Mount Rushmore yet. He's on track for it, but WWE definitely. And the WWE Mount Rushmore for me, it's more built on how was the business when you were the top person in the business? Like, how was the business going? So like my Mount Rushmore's Hogan, Austin, Rock, and Roman at this point, because even beyond Taker or Shawn Michaels or Triple H or whoever, business has never been like this when they were the top guy. Even Taker, like it was never like that. Taker was kind of the glue guy when business was down, that you could put the belt on and he could be that for you. Michael's the same way. Austin, Rock, and Hogan took the business to a different level, and that's what Roman's doing right now. Like, we have never seen anything like this. I'm 46. I've never seen anything like this in wrestling in terms of a concentrated storyline where one guy has the belt for so long that he elevates the belt. Like the Universal Championship, to be honest, guys, was kind of a joke for a little bit there. It was like the part-timer belt. And he has changed that belt into the most prestigious belt in the entire wrestling industry, in my opinion. And he said something in that documentary at the end, basically, where he was just like, I forgot exactly what he said, but whatever it was he said, I left it thinking, oh, he's not losing that belt on Sunday. He's not losing that belt anytime soon. They may actually try to break Bruno's record. Like, he's already had it for 4 years. Like, and if he's only really wrestling the big 4 pay-per-views, that might be a little bit easier to do in terms of rivalries and everything else. He's talking about the bloodline getting bigger, and there's so much family still out there. There's so much meat on this bone. There's no reason for them to have Cody pin him on Sunday, like business-wise. Like, business won't be the same without Roman at the top. So I got to put him on Mount Rushmore as it stands right now for WWE, just off of, look at all the buzz that's been generated from his reign. Like, he's the first person they call when they need to put him on Pat McAfee or the Today Show or something like that. Like, I can't picture Cody Rhodes doing the same job basically as Roman.
I can totally. Absolutely.
I can't see the same. Well, let me rephrase that. I can't see the same
representation in media. Come on, Cody carried AEW on his back those early years.
Yeah, but that's AEW. Like, I'm saying, like, I can't see Cody representing WWE in the same level of importance as it is when Roman shows up. When Roman shows up to your show, it's a big deal. When Cody shows up with that Universal belt, will it be the same deal as when Roman and Paul Heyman show up? I don't
Roman
think so.
shows up and it's a big deal. It's because we don't see him for months after months. Like, that's the main thing. And I get you have to keep him off TV to keep things fresh because he's run through everybody so early in this title run. That's why I don't think there is longevity. I don't think this title goes to Bruno's streak. I mean, is there a potential that it stays moving towards past WrestleMania? Absolutely. But I don't think this has longevity for that long.
So I want to push back on that notion that Roman is quote unquote a part-timer. Is he wrestling on Raw or SmackDown? No. But when Brock Lesnar had the Universal title belt, like Desmond referenced, or Goldberg, they would have the belt and they would disappear for 3
Brock
months.
Would disappear for months.
There would be no storyline. No storyline would be involved. Like, it would just be like they wanted you to forget about the Universal title. With Roman as champion, not only has he been the champion and wrestled at bigger pay-per-views, but give him credit. Like, the storylines continued because he's put the spotlight on Jimmy and Jay and Solo and even Cody as he chases the
Sammy.
title. Sami Zayn, like the storylines continued. So to say that Roman Reigns is a part-timer, I personally disagree with, because he's still impacting the week-to-week scheduling.
That's made the title better. That made it bigger. Like the title doesn't need to be defended every Monday night or every Friday night. It cheapens the belt. That was the complaint we were having before. That it was hot pocket.
I mean, I'm not saying
the belts
to defend it every Monday or Friday. I'm just saying, like, a more present champion was definitely needed. I mean, at this point, it's a moot point. It doesn't matter, because, you know, we're going to find out whether or not, you know, he's still champ this weekend or not. But still, during that, you know, that point, it would have still kept things afloat with the story if he would have showed up maybe 1 or 2 more times a month just for a, you know, for a segment or something. You know, hey,
they didn't need it. They don't really need it. And that's why the bloodline's so important. They don't really need Roman there every single week, like every other week, every 3 weeks, whatever. That's fine. It's like the king visiting the peasants, pretty much. Like you can't expect him to waste his time being around you guys every single week just because you need to see him to justify him having the belt. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's more like they've turned it to like a boxing heavyweight title, where it's like, are you worthy to get a chance to fight me? Like, that's where it's gotten to. Because this whole thing with Cody, they're like, you're not even supposed to be here. Like, you're not even worthy to fight. I already beat you. Like, you shouldn't even be in the situation again. But fine, I'll beat you again. Like, it's that kind of thing. I feel like Roman is, no one's gonna, whoever wins this belt from Roman, wherever it is, will not have the same type of level of importance when he walks in a room that Roman Reigns has right now. Like, when Roman walks into a room right now, or comes out to talk or whatever, there's no one in the business that controls the audience like he does, including Cody Rhodes. Like, he's
that's
the
a
biggest
hot
babyface.
take, man. I don't know about that. That's tough to say. I mean, Roman
the whole
is
business will fall
incredible.
apart if Roman Reigns is not champion on Monday after WrestleMania.
The whole business will fall apart if Roman is not
the whole
champion.
thing starts to crumble. Yep.
That
It's
is the
all
most
built on his
absurd
foundation,
thing
man.
I've heard. That is the most absurd thing I've heard.
It's all built across Roman. Everything leads to Roman right now. Like, and people hate that. People hate it, and that's what they want.
I don't hate it at all. I'm enjoying every minute of what I've been getting from WWE for this last year. Not complaining one bit about it. But I am, that is like, that's insane to say that the business, everything's gonna collapse if Roman loses the title. You mean to tell me that so then what was the whole point of building up all of these superstars across Raw and SmackDown if nobody in that company, apparently, you know, in your words, can lace up Roman's shoes on the business side, when you literally have the hottest baby face since John Cena in your company right there in Cody Rhodes? I love you, Des, but that take, I don't know whether it's gonna age like a fine wine or milk, because that is a hot one, to say the least. Because
you say Cody's the hottest babyface, though, right?
he is.
Why is he the hottest babyface?
Because he's chasing.
He's chasing
who?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's chasing Roman. Right. He's chasing the big boss. Right.
If this was Cody versus
Roman.
Seth at WrestleMania, he wouldn't be getting the same pops.
I don't know. It depends on what kind of story. That's an interesting conversation. It depends on what kind of storyline. Who, you know, whether Seth's how heel is Seth. You know, what's the stakes. That's a whole different alternate timeline conversation.
This whole the whole thing runs through Roman. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, it sounds weird.
Yeah, the
to
whole
say
thing definitely does.
It just the whole thing. Imagine a WWE with no Roman Reigns in it. Like, after WrestleMania, say he loses and say he decides to leave. Then what? What do they do then? Like, they just built 4 years of storyline around the bloodline, and now all of a sudden Roman's just not there ever anymore, and Cody's the Universal Champion. Like, people think they want it. You really don't. You really don't want a world where Cody's the Universal Champion and Roman's not here. Like,
I really do.
You guys love to chase. You guys love to chase more than him actually caring. You always turn on the babyface champion. Give Cody.
I mean, who's always? I'm not saying I'm turning on the babyface champion. I love Cena as champ. You know, I love me a good babyface champ, and I love me a
Cena
good
guy.
Yeah, of course I would.
Everyone turned on Cena once he became Super Cena, and like nobody could beat him. That's what they're going to do with Cody once he eventually has.
Never turn my back on John Cena.
And I would. I forgot you got the never give up back there.
Dude, I'm a Cena guy. I was always a Cena guy, man. That's my man. But I mean, I understand. You know, I understand completely what you're saying. I just don't think that it's going to be a bad thing if Cody wins that belt. I think the way Cody is, how hot he is, whether it's because of Roman or The Rock or this person, whatever, whoever the case may be, he's still one of the most over baby faces we've ever had in WWE since John Cena. Let's call it what it is. And I truthfully think they will come up with they're 3 steps ahead of us already, WWE to begin with. But if Cody's winning that belt, they're gonna have stories and everything's gonna be fleshed out, and you're gonna have fantastic matches and stories all in its own with Cody Rhodes as champion. Mark my words.
But the interest won't be the same. That's what I'm saying. Like mainstream won't be as involved as they are now. Mainstream media
it would.
Not for Cody Rhodes being champ.
They're playing Cody Rhodes' theme song at MLB games. They're playing his music everywhere. They do the same thing with Roman. They played his song at the Lakers. I hear you.
Has people doing wedding entrances to his music. Like
Cody Rhodes,
that's going to be me. By
Cody
the way,
Rhodes is doing gender reveals, and he's being best people's best man's at wedding. Like, come on, dude. They did it to you again. They did it to you again. They did it to you with Drew McIntyre. They did this to you with Sami Zayn. They did it with Kevin Owens. They did it with Jay Uso. The trick is to make it so that whoever's fighting Roman, you legit feel like they're supposed to win this match. That's the way this whole thing works. Because if it's just Roman beating up guys and you're expecting them to win every time, it doesn't work. But if you can build the opponent to the point where he's at the same level by the time of the match, gotcha. That's where they want you, because Roman's going to win. And at that point, whatever happens to that guy, whoever it was, Sammy, Jay, Kevin Owens, whoever, the storyline will dictate from there. But the whole point is to build up the opponent so that Roman's not just taking on weak sauce every time he actually does fight. Yeah, of course. You just explain professional wrestling in a nutshell. You
obviously want to build up your
Cody opponent.
Thing, man. Y'all got suckered into the Cody thing.
I wouldn't say suckered into anything. I mean, I'll go back and forth all day. We only have 10 more minutes of out of pocket, so I'll go back and forth on this all day with you. But Cody Rhodes is winning the belt because that's the story, baby. The story is here. The book's closing on one story and another story's opening post WrestleMania as Cody as champ and Roman and his cousin having a year-long build to WrestleMania next year.
I will say this before we turn it back over to Mike. Looking like Mark says, there is meat on the bone, but the bloodline doesn't need the belt. A power vacuum in Roman's absence could create some compelling stories. That's why he's not there every week. They already do that. That's why he's not there every week, so that Solo and Jimmy and all these others can actually grow and be bigger characters than if he was there every single week. The bloodline does need the belt. The bloodline didn't exist until Roman was champ. It's been there since he's been champion.
But that's a better
bloodline
story.
Doesn't work if he doesn't have that belt. This whole Roman's whole story is that he's providing for his family by being champ. That's the whole bloodline thing.
And that's the next part of the story. The next chapter in the bloodline story is to see the head of the table, the man who's feeding his family. He doesn't have the belt. So then what happens next? I think that's going to be even more of a compelling story than if Roman had the title for the next 80 years and, I died as Roman is still champion. I would much rather see the Roman Empire crumble and watch that story, because I think that's going to be even more compelling and they're going to be able to give you even more cinema, so to speak.
But that's not going to be Cody that kicks the wall in. That's my point. It's
Who is? There's no wrestler. Then there's no wrestler in professional wrestling period that is as big as Roman Reigns. If that's your argument, then Roman's going to retire the champion.
The Rock.
So then what are we doing? Why are we even wasting our time talking about it?
Mm-hmm.
The Rock's going to beat him?
If anyone, it'll be The Rock, and you're a year ahead. It'll be next year's WrestleMania.
WWE completely wasted their time building up all of these superstars that they have waiting in the cusp. If The Rock beats Roman, that's the biggest slap in the face.
I agree with you. I've said from a while that Roman's going to retire with that belt.
At that point, if you feel that there's nobody who in WWE, because I see the person and it's Cody Rhodes and it makes sense. He's right there. There's tons of stories to branch out from Cody Rhodes' title reign. Randy Orton jumps right off the top of my head originally. And then you can go into, talking The Miz and Kevin Owens, and you can get into the Sami Zayn and rehash that. You could do a lot here with a Cody Rhodes, and at the end of the day, we're going to find out Sunday night.
And that's the cool thing about where wrestling is right now is you would go to a pay-per-view and for, I swear, 10, 15 years, you would look at the card and you would say, okay, this person's winning, and you'd predict the entire show before you ever go to it. And it was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. I hated it because it's like, oh, we know that this guy, like R-Truth, isn't going to beat John Cena for the WWE title. Like, we knew that going into Capital Punishment 10 plus years ago.
God.
Like, now we have a Cody Rhodes documentary out on Peacock. We have a Roman Reigns documentary out on A&E, and WWE's actually building up 2 stories to where Mike and 50% are going Cody wins this belt. Dez and 50% are going Roman's keeping the belt. And this is what I love about pro wrestling. And the people who are watching Out of Pocket right now, we are doing some really good numbers on Out of Pocket right now because everybody is invested in what WWE is doing right now. And Roman Reigns may win the belt, may keep the belt. He may not after this weekend. Also, do want to announce that Friday is a huge day for Out of Pocket. We are going to be doing Out of Pocket supersized. For the first time since we've been back, Out of Pocket will be 1 hour long. And that's because we have the Final Four and we have WrestleMania 40. Like, we have so much content to give you guys, and we are super excited to do that. Roman, in terms of the Mount Rushmore conversation, I really got to consider him on the Mount Rushmore. I don't even have Hogan on my Mount Rushmore at this point, but especially if Roman wins this weekend, the work he's done, I think in a year or 2 time, we'll look back and be like, this was the greatest run we've ever seen in our lifetime. As we close out today, and we'll continue talking more WrestleMania. We'll have a wrestling podcast tomorrow. Drop the mic. We'll preview it. I'm sure Mouthing Off with Mike will as well. Comments are pouring in on YouTube. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all so much. But WrestleMania already has those moments, those surprise appearances. So I wanted to ask you guys to predict one. Just predict one surprise appearance that you see happening this weekend at WrestleMania. Mike, you'll be there live, so
I will be there live.
Speak into existence who you want to see in Philadelphia.
Speaking it into existence, I hope the universe hears me because I would love to see my man, the myth, legend himself, Jason Kelsey, live in attendance in Philadelphia, baby. Love to see it.
That was so disappointing.
It's like, okay.
Hey man, we're getting Lil Wayne, dude. Lil Wayne is gonna be there. I'm ecstatic. Meek Mill's there. I'm thriving. This is the greatest WrestleMania for me.
I wonder if they're gonna let Meek Mill do Dreams and Nightmares or something.
I'm gonna run
like
through a wall
with the lights out or whatever. Like that would be good.
The chill,
Wrestler wise, I've been trying to figure out this whole main event thing for the 2 nights and how they could do it. Because I deep down, I'm like a booker at heart. Like I try to look 3-4 months out to see how they do this to keep the fans engaged. And I've been saying for a couple of weeks, I think it's gonna be Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga is gonna show up night 2 and disrupt the main event, which is how Roman's gonna retain. I feel like Cody and Seth are gonna win night 1, so there'll be no bloodline allowed near the ring, which would make sense for Tama to come in because technically he's not bloodline, but he is. Haku's his dad or whatever. So, and there's storyline, like you were saying, Mike, about storyline. How about storyline between Cody and Tama Tonga for costing them the Universal Championship and using all that AEW stuff? Now you've got them over here. You've got the Good Brothers over here. You've got AJ Styles over here. You've got Finn Balor over here. They could create a group themselves if they really wanted to.
We rehash the Bullet Club.
Basically. Yeah, something.
It's an interesting concept. I don't know. I could get on board with it. You'd have to compel me.
That would be the one. Although I have another person in mind that I said earlier that we'll probably talk about Friday that'll probably be the one that disrupts that match. But if I had my say, it'd be Tama. That would be pretty cool.
And especially it's interesting with AJ Styles taking on this new heel attitude. All of a sudden, Tama Tonga just got signed. You're not really doing anything with Anderson and Gallows right now, but they can be inserted just easily. There's some dissension in Judgment Day starting. Dom's starting to go towards the Legado del Fantasma. Damian Priest still has that briefcase cashing in. Rhea's focused on Becky. JD's always been fishy. I'm pretty sure Awesome Truth win this Saturday. the titles, so they lose those titles. My pick is, if I can only pick one, I'm gonna pick one of those faces on the production truck last week as The Rock was beating up Cody Rhodes. I think we get Stone Cold. I think Stone
Ooh.
Cold comes
Where?
down. It'll
Like what?
probably be my prediction is night 1 Roman and Rock win, and then night 2, it's bloodline rules, anything goes. So like as the bloodline starts beating up Cody, then you have these legends come out, one of them being Stone Cold, and Stone Cold gives a stunner to The Rock. I mean, that's a perfect moment right there in WrestleMania. See how The Rock still sells the stunner better than anyone else. But as I mentioned, I'll have my wrestling podcast dropping tomorrow. I'll also be on Mouthing Off with Mike this week, returning the favor for all the times he's woke up early on the West Coast to be on Out of Pocket for you guys' lunch break. So shout out to Mike, shout out to Wayne. Wayne will be on Tobacco Road in some form or facet. He's been commenting all the
Wayne
time
wants
on the
to
YouTube
see
channel.
Taylor Swift dropkick Grayson Waller, and I want to see it too.
And that is quite the way to end Out of Pocket on your Tuesday. We won't be on air Wednesday. We'll do the wrestling podcast. I'll do the Cat Cave, and then we'll be back Thursday at 12:30. Friday is a supersized episode for 1 hour, 12 o'clock to 1. But for myself, Michael Davis, Mike Mealy from Mouthing Off with Mike, and Desmond Johnson, this has been Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, and we will see you Thursday back on Out of Pocket.